Welcome back to Team Gravity Fight Night, and
Yes,
much
indeed.
to our chagrin, Hawkeye did not count from 3 to 2.5
hmm
and then to 1. I am very proud of him.
Yeah. I was expecting the 2.5, and I have to admit, even though it was off air, that I was incorrect. I have lost. I only wagered 1/4 of a point on that one, so still up overall, 26.2859 Canadian, looking pretty good.
Ooh.
Got Drenok. Of course, my name is Jack Attack. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out. We like tuning in and hang out with you. We got a crazy matchup. We got one of my favorite Terran players of all time, FanTaSy. I'm going to try to not be a biased caster, but I really love FanTaSy. The TvZ matchup also one of my favorites for sure.
I don't want to be too punny,
I'm ready.
but Kappa, punny, funny. But true in fantasy, like it's one guy's true, one guy's reality. I know he's not quite reality, but he'll have to suffice today for us being reality. So
Is this the
I
true
think,
life, or is this
yeah,
just fantasy?
if you're going fantasy, since True is on Psystorm and I like Psystorm, I'm definitely going to go True. So True's going to take it 3-0. Jerk.
Wow. I believe in game fives. So as a result, it's going to go to game five. But in the end, it's going to be a comeback story where fantasy is just going to play with them. Be like, yeah, sure, you can win 2 games. First 2 games, go to true. But this is all in fantasy's head.
Some true and
On.
fantastical mind
And then
games.
fantasy's just like, well, time to turn on what is it? The infernal pre-igniters, and then bam, that's it. It's gonna be 3 in a row. Victory for fantasy. That's how it's gonna go down.
Real quick, do we still have Maturino? Because I know a Nocturne, the guy in the chat, mentioned that, and I remember that. But Hawkeye, do we have any
I
Maturino in him?
don't
Okay.
think we have anything going on as far as promotions are concerned. Just please do keep in mind we are sponsored by Azubu and
Lick my
Spawn.
nose.
So go
We're on
ahead.
Team Liquid.
You are on Team Liquid. Click Drenok's nose. If you click on his nose, you'll be taken to his Zubu. He has a magical nose, as everyone knows, as every nose knows. Big shout out to
Next got a magical nose.
from what do you call it? From Imba Builds. Nose knows all.
Nose?
Cool guy. That's actually his ID. Nose knows all.
Is that really? I was
Yeah.
wondering. I was wondering about that. You're so
Yep.
confident. It wasn't like Imba. Your nose from Imba builds.
Imba Builds. That's right.
Up next, of course, is the $25 best of 5 show match between Fantasy and True. So we're just waiting a few minutes for them to do all their vetoes. And I love how half of it's in Korean. I'm like, I don't know what map you're referring to. You just said it in Korean. Like, please. I'm sorry. I know I'm racist, but just not racist. I know I'm biased. Just please do it in English.
I know
now.
I'm racist.
I love it.
Drenok,
Sometimes I feel that way though.
You know?
Sometimes like I know I'm racist. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Well.
knowing is half the knowledge, as they say here
Half the
in
battle.
Atlanta.
Is it a
And,
battle though? If I'm racist, is it truly a battle? Because it's not a battle because I'm sure it's right. It's
You are digging yourself deeper into the hole of
I didn't really
victory
care about
there.
the whole.
You don't care about the hole?
No,
Dude,
I was
the
making
hole
I was
is
making a
first
point
place.
that if someone is truly racist, then do they consider it racism?
Mm.
And they themselves. I
If
was making
there
a
is a
point.
racist in the woods and he falls over and no one's there,
No one.
was
No
he
one at
really a
all.
racist?
No one.
Who knows?
Wait, what's
Uh,
he racist towards then if there's no one there for him to hate on?
I'm racist against Protoss. That's what I'm racist against. He's probably racist against Protoss too, because Protoss are no good cheese and cheesers, as we all know.
No good. And you
Yeah.
play random, so 30% of the time you just hate yourself.
I'm just like,
30%
oh, I
is
have to
repeating.
cannon rush because it's an intelligent decision, but I hate myself. Yeah, it's one of those things for sure. Definitely go ahead and embrace the cheese. It's a beautiful thing, and one of those things about new games. New games as they come out and they're developed. And StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void is a new game, despite the fact it's only an expansion. It's very, very different. So the first things that people are going to figure out are the all-ins. Initially, in the beta, we had the all-ins of the Adepts, and right now we have the all-in of the Liberator Hellbat timings in this matchup. So who knows what we'll get to see. Dusk Towers is the map for this first game of the best of 5. Sandstorm's True against Dead Pixels. Fantasy. Yeah.
To be quite fair, the adept all-ins weren't even all-ins because like 2 adepts killed an entire bio army. Like no, I'm not even. You got this was any. I was there in day 1 of the beta, and I'm like, cool. I'm gonna do some Terran. I'm gonna do some Bio Liberator in like 10 adepts, kill an entire bio army when they have shield upgrades.
Well,
It was painful.
before I call you out on that, we're gonna look in the top right-hand corner of the map. We've got Storm Gaming's True.
And his opponent in the bottom left-hand corner, it is Dead Pixels FanTaSy. I feel like the name isn't ironic with the clan tag. It just sounds cool. I'm a Dead Pixels fantasy.
Yeah, the abbreviation DPix, not so good though. They need to work on that for sure. Gonna have to shuffle.
I never
that.
even thought of it, and I feel like I'd be the first one to think about that. So,
well, it turns out that it was me and not you, and that's better for your reputation. Good job. Definitely
Thank
good
you.
job for you. You show up to the cast in a button-up and a tie. You're the professional guy. You got your hair all perfect and looking good.
Really?
Those high-quality headphones going on. You're a smancy, high-level guy. I'm the guy who's like, D-Pix, dude, get it? And then you're like, oh, yes.
Jack.
Yeah,
Jack.
Jack attack. And, but yeah, so the problem, though, with what you said earlier, and I got to call you out because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm about honesty and transparency all the way through. You couldn't possibly have been psyched up about Bio Liberator play on day 1 of the beta because the Liberator did not yet exist.
Yes, it did.
Nope.
In
Day 1 of the beta, there was no Liberator. Initially, there was
sure?
the Liberator was.
I meant open beta in the beginning of the year.
Yes. Well,
Whatever that beta was, not that beta. The open beta in like January or February, maybe it was March of this year.
March of this year was
almost
an open
year.
beta. March of this year was the closed beta.
Yeah, I was in the very first wave of whatever that thing was, and there was Liberators.
Nope.
Was there not?
Nope.
I feel like there was.
There are some things that are known and true. Gravity is real.
Oh yeah, they removed Herx.
Were not existent in the first day of the beta.
When I got in, when I got in, there was no Herx. I can clearly remember that. I don't know. Strange.
But I will bet you actually 3 points that Liberators did not exist in day 1 of the closed beta in March of this year. Will you take up?
I'm sure. Like I
All
legitimately.
right, counter bet. Say you heard it. That's 3 of his points.
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah, wait. How many points do we actually have, though? Is the question. Just
No,
do I have 3? Okay.
Move on. 3 of your points.
Start casting the game, and I'll figure this out.
I've still got 3/4 of a point. So we do have 3cc coming down, Factory coming up, and Reactor Hellions to follow. No doubt, that's one of the things that has remained the same. You can still feel nice and comfortable with your Reactor Hellions. In the meantime, the Zerg getting up to a reasonably quick 3 bases as well. As far as scouting is concerned, most players, and by most I mean all players in this map, by which I mean both, are completely in the dark as far as they know what their opponent is doing. They have a sort of read, I think that True will do this kind of a thing, or they sort of play that Teja style, or where they're just like, yeah, you know what, I know exactly what you're doing, and I don't need to scout you right now. And kids, don't try this at home. The non-scout is definitely non-safe. For almost all of us. It is only the most elite among us that can really pull off this non-scout kind of situation and be like, yeah, I know exactly all the possibilities of everything that's going to happen because I'm awesome, and my first scout is going to be 4 minutes into the game. Kind of crazy. But that's what we're seeing here from True and FanTaSy. Of course, this trade of lack of information allows each player to be a little bit more greedy, a little bit more economically based as every 1 second that scouting worker is out on the map, that's 1 less mineral that you don't have in your pocket.
You are correct. It was Jennifer. May. It was added in May, so it was 2 months after that.
That is correct. I now have 3 of your points, and I'm up to positive 3.375 points total in our.
I feel like you said 0.25 before. You said you were positive 0.25.
Oh no, that was Canadian. I reconverted that into points.
Reconverted to US.
The exchange rate was actually more favorable just now than it was 15 minutes ago. So I exchanged back, money shuffling. Keep the money shuffling, and eventually it will have children, and you'll have more money. So we've got the roaches coming out over here. Going to be able to have a beautiful little line of defense. Look at that. Look at that line. It's like, you're going to stop. I'm going to kill you directly in your face if you walk up here and the Hellions say, oh, so those are roaches. I'm going to leave now.
Not only the roaches, but we have 2 queens in the main and a couple queens in the natural, or 1 queen in the natural. But there is overall a lot of defense against that. FanTaSy is saying, okay, cool, I won't use Hellions, I'll make you make a lot of roaches, put your gas into that, and now I can harass you with a Banshee. This Banshee does not, actually, no, it does have Cloak. By the way, go to your upgrades really quickly. Does it not show Colossus and Update in Adepts as an upgrade?
Yeah, well,
I posted that error.
Upgrade for sure. You know, it's a much better Protoss army that has upgraded those units, as they are quite strong.
I posted that to Reddit, and I got terribly downvoted. And I was like, I'm not, like, it's just a thing. I don't know I'm getting downvoted. I just want it to be fixed.
Well, you know, you probably got downvoted.
Roach is trying to push in right here. A lot of Marine, though. DPS will be added in on this with the Hellions.
And in the meantime, the Banshee just barely escapes with 8 HP. Action going on all over the map. And just look at this Overlord spread from True. It's so beautiful. He's got positions, roaches in position as well. He knows everything that's going on. He's got a nice spread back at home as well. Just really on top of everything here. And we do have no real Overlord clearing capabilities for FanTaSy in the meantime, so he's pretty safe to do this. 5 Ravagers morphing in and trying to do a little bit of prediction. It's nearly impossible to hit anything that's not the slowest thing on the Earth with Ravager Corrosive Biles, and FanTaSy showing that that is still true. And
Overlords are the slowest thing, and they can get away. So I feel like really
only things that well, the slowest thing is probably a building, right?
Ooh, but oh yes, 0 speed. Yeah. Maybe Nidus Network.
A Terran building moving around, I think, is slower than an Overlord. So that would be even slower. Banshee's coming in, doing a little bit of harass. That one Banshee is really low on hit points, though. He's going to be super...
Queen picks it up. Second, that Banshee still is alive, and it does have Cloak, of course. I don't know if there's any Overseers out of the map, but it will be annoying. For now, True is getting up 1-1. Actually, there's a big drop in True's main base, and his army is not quite in the right position. 1-1 is going to be done in a couple seconds, but for now, that means these lanes are going to be terribly not good, in phenomenal position, getting his belly to this hatch, not allowing the Lings to get a full surface area to surround, and it'll be cleaned up. The Overseer almost ran into that, but basically all the Ravager can do is be mean. He can be like, get out of here! Scram, kids! You can't actually do anything to the Overlords. Banshee should go down soon, because that Spore is going to kill it once it gets down. No, yep, there it gets down. Which is it off, and we're seeing 1-1 come in for True, and he got a pretty early infestation pit with Hive. I presume we're going to see him save up for Ultras. He's got 2,000 minerals in the bank, 1,500 gas. I'm guessing Ultras, but for now he's going to have to survive the storm of Hellbat Marine and no Liberators, interestingly enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultras tend to be the way to go. You can see we are running into the melee upgrades. A lot of time Roaches, yeah, there's the Ultra Cavern. Roaches and Ravagers are sort of this mid-game, keep you alive during, in case Liberators come and things like that, until you can get your late-game Ultra Army up. Big engagement over here, a lot of different splash damage connecting, but in the end, it's these Ravagers over to the side. In the meantime, we do have the battle going on the right as well. Nice connections with the Banelings there, but it looks like this battle at the top is going to go in favor of FanTaSy.
Not only does it go in favor of FanTaSy, but you just saw that was the 4th base position for True, and he needs that 4th base to move on into this mid to late game. But I mean, maybe Ultra's Cavern will be enough for now, though. FanTaSy's being incredibly aggressive. There's not that many Banelings morphed in, and potentially FanTaSy has the possibility to just pre-split this up when he's fighting so deep on creep.
He's deep on creep. Watch out for that stuff. It's coming in with all these Banes, but a lot of them exploding on Marauders. That's not what he wants. These Marines in the back free to deal their massive amount of DPS per square inch and just moving forward, killing out that Spore Crawler, excuse me. 5 Ultras on the way, but they take a long time to build. There is not a lot of hope aside from that until these... that's GG. Well played. Couldn't get to those Ultralisks, unfortunately.
And I feel like it truly couldn't get to those Ultralisks, because earlier on he had what was like 1,200 minerals, 1,200 gas. That's very good for Ultras, but Think about that. That's just floating out there. That's not economy. That is not army. And
Mm,
so Fantasy had 1,200 minerals, 1,200 gas put in somewhere. He definitely, which I think is kind of what he had there. He was just able to crush the army. I
yeah.
guess True was hoping that he kind of see Fantasy take a fourth base and try to hold that and expect aggression. Maybe True should have been a little bit more aggressive early on and kind of balked that he was going to keep up the tempo.
One of the weird things that I noticed is that the hive was up for a very long period of time before the Ultralisk cavern
Yes.
was actually built. And I was trying to figure out if that was a mistake or if True was trying to figure out where to go with the hive tech. But it's sort of
But
like I
yeah,
feel
it would
like
be
it's a no-brainer,
ultras.
right? At this point, like you're gonna go ultras almost all the time, unless he's got some kind of secret build up his sleeve for tier like Broodlord. I don't know.
Even with that, that would just take way too long. By that time, obviously, as we saw, Fantasy was
Yeah.
able to take out the fourth base and even the third. I like the idea of ultras. He just needed to technically. The idea he was going for wasn't quite possible. He needed ultras, but wouldn't have been able to get that many. You'd have to just wait a little while longer. Not even a little while longer. Just use like 400 to 500 minerals that he had in the bank after making those ultras
Yeah.
earlier on in the game. So just a little bit more timed out of a build to understand. Okay, I do need these about 500 extra minerals to use on whatever to defend, whether it be spine crawlers, until the ultras get there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the attack was coming through, and maybe he made the call that after that fourth base, Fantasy was going to back up, and so he queued up those 5 Ultralisks and had pretty much no money left. Also, it's 5 less larvae you could use for defensive units as well. So, just
Five
the attack coming through.
five larva in ultra case though is pretty big, other than like five larva in roach case or something. That's a
Yeah, for sure. And the larva got a little bit nerfed recently, which we can talk about after we introduce the players on Lurelac Crest. We've got spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of our screen, the greatest player of all time.
dun, dun,
It's
dun.
the Blue Terran FanTaSy.
And his opponent in the top right-hand corner, the red Zerg player from Sidestorm Gaming, who recently got nerfed. Really was a couple months ago, but it is true.
Truth got nerfed.
This- Yes, Truth did get nerfed. The entire
Man, it's
idea
not as
of
good as
Truth.
before. Lies still OP at the moment. But the
I
balance
think lies have always been
Lies.
OP. TBH.
Yeah. Lies OP. We need to get a player called dishonesty or deception or something like that.
Deception. I
Deception.
feel like that would
Deception
be
wouldn't be a bad
phenomenal.
ID. That would be
Yeah,
alright.
that would be a good idea. Not only that, it would be a good smurf, but talking a little bit about larva, isn't it that hatches can only have like 3 extra larvae just by producing? Or
Well,
they can only have 3 larvae? I can't
it's
remember.
that the inject got nerfed. It used to give you
Oh, yeah, yeah.
4 larvae per inject, and now it gives you 3. One thing that's been consistent since Brood War is the maximum amount of larvae you can have naturally occurring at a hatchery is 3. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, your hatchery produces larvae at a normal rate without any injects. That's about I think
10
11
seconds-ish.
seconds or so. Yeah, 10, 11 seconds. It was 15 seconds on Heart of the Swarm, and I don't have all my new stats up in my brain yet. But yeah, so that naturally occurs, but it stops at 3 larvae. So one of the important things that you can do as a new Zerg player is when you're making your build and when you're doing your strategies, try not to let 3 larvae sit at your hatchery for too long, because that's larvae that you won't be able to get back. And especially in Legacy of the Void, you're a lot more larva dependent than you were before because it's a more scarce resource.
Definitely. Reaper Fantasy will be coming out off the back of his natural base that CC expand, just a normal Reaper Fast expand. 4 Lings will be ready, and there's even 2 in the high ground just prepared to greet this Reaper. A nice high five to the face, and ooh, actually, the Lings almost got a really nice position. Not quite for now, but they will be on the full retreat, waiting for the Queen to come out, which should be able to box out this Reaper. There it is. We'll be able to box out. Hopefully, the natural base is actually a little bit delayed because of those Lings being pushed out. For now,
Oh, he's just gonna. Oh no, he goes too close. He goes too close. Oh, he
Barely
escapes.
gets away.
Such a confident play from True, only building 4 Zerglings when he knows that the Reaper is likely to come in. A lesser player would build 6, but True says, "Oh no, I can get by with 4 and take no damage," and so True indeed does. True, certainly one of the stronger Zerg players out in the world right now. Fearsome to contend with. We do have, not a 1-1-1 rush, but we do have the starport coming out rather quickly here. Reactor Hellions is a sort of normal thing. We do have a tech lab, so wondering if we're going to see a little bit more of that Banshee action, which has been popular in general in the matchup.
It has been very popular, and I've actually even seen 2 to 3 starports with tech labs been on in just constant pumping of Banshees, which can get pretty darn scary. It's, interestingly enough, it's the Mech Air Terran, which I've been seeing more and more with the introduction of them Liberators in March, or no, it was May, in the 5th month of the year, because I'm blanking on what that is right now, because I got a cast. Reaper will be keeping a lot of map control for now, making sure there's no quick third base, and that's pretty much the thing. Okay, if there's a quick third base, need to put on the pressure. If there's not, I mean, he's got to be really careful with Banshee Hellion. Yes, it's good, but on the defense, if there's a big Ling swell, it's not going to deal with it well.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough scenario in general. I think actually for FanTaSy, True seems to be relatively prepared for everything that's coming. So it'll be a little bit tough here for FanTaSy to try and find some damage with this amount of defensive play. Wondering if we won't see a quick third once he realizes this.
Quick third definitely is possible, and there's a third being put down now. I don't know if I'd say if it's quick at this point. I'd say a quick third is before your natural is saturated, at least in Legacy of the Void. But we do see a quick third for FanTaSy back there. That is the CC in the main. And for now, neither player being that aggressive, but both of them picking their hand out, picking their tools of the war, I guess. We have Spire for True, while still FanTaSy's kind of liking Hellion Banshee. And if he's going to do that, he truly has to be aggressive to make this happen.
Yeah, Liberator's on the way, though, so we'll see Freedom Ring for all the Americans.
Lots of liberation.
Lots of liberation is about to commence as a result of Dem Liberators. A little bit of Ling action coming through, goes unscouted for the time being, and actually this natural is relatively open on the top side. He's going to poke.
The Hellion's actually getting a beautiful shot off onto these Lings.
Does manage to pull back in time to avoid most of the damage. Not going to use the line of sight blockers to try to catch anything, but FanTaSy sort of respect. Oh, just going to run right in there. True, not paying attention. Is going to lose a Ling for it, but fortunately, Lings are the most expendable unit in the game.
Liberator, though.
So, not a big deal.
Liberator has a little SCV buddy right there. He's helping out, but maybe it will be for the defense of the natural base because mutas are on their way and going to hit it. Currently, 6 mutas are out, and Liberator pushes it back. Not only that, there's
they keep clumping up. Oh,
that is the most anti-muta you can get.
Yep, absolutely. Liberators so crush the the Mutalisk, and the reason, one of the big reasons why it's the case, and why it's so hard to micro Mutalisks against Liberators is because the splash damage of the Liberators is huge. It's really big. It's not small like a Thor's, but it's at least double the size. And as a result, oh, nice little cute play with the creep there. As a result, it's just one of those things where, I hate to say hard counter, but the counter is quite, quite dense in material. It's getting towards diamond level of density. And hardness, as it were.
Now, this game we're not seeing quite as quick as an infestation pit and a layer in the main, my bad, hive in the main, but yeah. I almost feel like with these mutas, it may be the situation where in his mentality, okay, I did have some extra minerals, some gas left over, I need to be able to defend. Ultra is where they're going to get in that late game, but maybe this is a slight fix of that earlier build of saying, you know what, I'm going to go muta, that's how I'll defend till Ultras. But there's not that quick hive as we saw in the previous game. For now, though, True is just pumping Muta, Ling, Baneling. No Banelings actually yet, but I presume that'll be what he gets. Maybe not, though. 1-1's on the way. Maybe he'll just rely off adrenal gland Lings.
Yeah, well, the Baneling nest is available should Banelings be required, but, of course, no need to morph in Banelings unless you feel the need, and the need for Banelings has just been felt. In the swarmy capacities of our Zerg player True, and no sooner is that feeling felt than FanTaSy moves out upon the map. That's right. It's that star sense.
Tentacles.
It's not the Kala, it's the swarm. It's the psionic emanations of the swarm. An attack is incoming.
The Overmind.
The Overmind. Oh, poor Overmind. Rip in pieces, Overmind.
Ripping pieces in Brood War.
Yes, for sure. But yeah, going ahead and continuing to build Mutalisks past the point where the Liberators have come out.
Oh, they're all the Liberators are all, the Mutas are all clumped up.
Two big hits
I keep
there.
saying the wrong unit. Muta's so clumped up right there. And for now, there's not even, I don't even think there's enough Banelings to honestly bust through this Marine Hellbat force, especially with some Widow Mines. It's going to be a dicey fight for True. Thankfully, there's 22 more Lings out and 1-1 is almost done, but this 1-1 is much later than earlier. Than last game.
Direct engagement not looking good for True. So it looks like he's setting up for a counterattack. Hasn't been scouted yet. FanTaSy going to move forward. This Overlord is going to scout the positioning of the army, and as a result, True will move in here. Still unscouted. Still
go to
completely
upgrades again.
Unscouted here.
Adept in Colossus comes up for FanTaSy as an upgrade.
Good move. Good thing that he got the Adept in Colossus. It definitely,
Colossus, man.
you know, really helps, I think. It's one of those important things.
Will they be there, though, for the Muta Baneling Ling heading into that third?
Oh, man.
Canceled already.
He's trying to split his worker to the best of his ability here.
Liberators actually are just going to decimate these Muta forces, also low on health. 2-2 is on the way, but that means these Lings currently are at 1-1, and they cannot do anything. Third base was forced to lift up, and 27 workers were killed over the course of this game. Not sure how many died right there, but all in all, the army of FanTaSy was pushed back. So I think True has bought himself enough time for the Mutaling Bane, or more so just Ling Bane right now, to actually fight.
Yeah, and he's continuing to produce Mutalisks here. We only see one Liberator on the field. FanTaSy not continuing to pump out the Liberators. Ooh, and actually in the sort of siege mode of Liberators. Really nice hits there on the Widow Mine. Clears out pretty much all the Banelings. We got a secondary force of Banelings up in the top. He's going to use those to move in here. The Mutas take out the Liberator while it's in siege mode, but he's going to be forced back just for the moment here. Second round comes through. He's got the Banelings. He can engage here. A little bit on the creep is FanTaSy, and that rally just allows him to keep pushing and pushing into the Zerg here. A little bit scary, one of those dicey, sort of heart of the swarm situations where you're back and forth all over the place.
It is very all over the place each time. FanTaSy just surviving with a couple units, but we'll have to see how long that lasts. And the beginning of that engagement is 110 army supply to about 80, and now it is about 80 to 70-ish, so it's much more even. We'll see if True can make it happen again, though, if he's allowed himself enough time to get Banelings in, and Banelings on the right-hand side. They're looking for the attack, they're looking for the shot, but still True is trying to buy himself as much time as he can. These Overlords may be the cost of that time, though. Muta's going in for a little bit of attack, though, but gotta be really careful moving on to those Widow Mines.
Yeah, really nice shot in the Widow Mines on those Mutalisks there. Really nice play. And I love the way that he's moving just a small number of units forward to try to bait out these Baneling shots as much as possible. True on the other side, trying to do the same thing with the Widow Mines. Ooh, a lot of Banelings there running into Marauders. Not the most cost efficient, but it might be able to power through here. Running out of units, and he's got to keep these medevacs alive. Very important. Couple Widow Mines burrowing.
Widow Mines.
Ooh. Actually lost some medevacs there to the Widow Mines. He's in full retreat. These Mutalisks
all these medevacs, actually. How many medevacs are right here? That is
very low health.
11 medevacs.
Yep, gonna take a fourth behind this is True. In the meanwhile, 3-3 coming in for FanTaSy. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no hive on the map yet.
There is no hive at all, so it's not an ultra move. True saying, you know what, I'm not going to try to do anything fancy. I wasn't trying to say fantasy, but it kind of happened right there. Oh, huge medevac, not medevac, what am I saying? A huge Widow Mine hit right there. Muta's right on top of this base. Actually, there's a lot of mules right here. That could be a very nice pickup, but it'll not be. They're just going to simply go up into the main, and desperately, FanTaSy needs to pick up all his units and speed boost into the main because these SCVs are going to be at jeopardy. How many SCVs? Only 3 SCVs. The macro of FanTaSy is good to split them off, but now there's another set of Liberators, and these Liberators should be the demise of these Mutas. On the other hand, this is a scary position with Mutas. One slight, small wrong move is death.
That's right, and it is quite that knife's edge situation with that. Those 2 units, you know, both of them in those capacity have a chance to take the other one out. We do have Hive on the way, Overlord speed as well, so that's going to help a lot with the Overseer potentially with this group of Mutas because they have no detection, so it's really tough. You really got to be on top of them, watching for those Widow Mines as they come out. And speaking of Widow Mines, oh my god! The Widow Mine shots are real. So so many dead Mutalisks, so many dead
The Liberators,
SCVs.
this could be it. The Liberators could get their promotion today. So many Mutas are low on health right here. They are going to be retreating. Hopefully that Muta regen will be good enough. But off the back of all of that, FanTaSy saying, you know what? All your Mutas only a couple health. Let's push out and do it. There are so many Muta Lings here, though. Lings and Banelings. It's only 80 army supply to 115, though. In every engagement, FanTaSy's just coming out slightly ahead, Jack Attack.
Yeah, I've got these Banelings morphing out here. Keep in mind, FanTaSy is near all in with his attack. He's only got 32 workers behind this and has mined out most of his bases, making no move to take a fourth base. Got to make something happen here. Doing a drop over the side, not particularly effective. But in the front, the Liberators are doing work, clearing out some Overlords, making stuff happen. Ooh, really nice Widow Mine hits there on those Banelings. Really clearing out a lot of these Banelings. Not too many left. Keep in mind, it's a really
All the Mutas
part of
stacking up right on top of each other, but it won't quite be enough.
Yep, absolutely not enough. Just hanging on barely. The regeneration of the Mutas should get them back within a reasonable amount of time. Pushing forward into the natural. This is FanTaSy going for the throat here. Nothing is being built behind this, but more and more and more army. That Widow Mine is going to come active again, and he's going to be in a pretty nice position here. Nicely pulling away those Widow Mine shots with the Overseers. Excellently done. Enough Mutalisks here to kill the Liberators, but it looks like this Bioforce crushed all of the Mutalisks. There's almost nothing left for True. He's sitting on top of his hive. That's it. GG.
Whew. If somehow True could have actually defended that, it was 50 workers to only 30. Even though there are mules, he had a nice attack right there. But in every single engagement, FanTaSy seemed to always be just slightly ahead. And I don't know if just the bio composition worked out better with those Widow Mines, but the Ling Bane just never quite was there to actually finish the job.
Yeah, a lot of really good Widowmine hits on Banelings, and a lot of cost-inefficient Banelings blowing up on Marauders throughout the course of that game. So the cost efficiency of True is low in that sense. And also, going for the Mutas. I don't see a lot of players make Mutas work against Liberators, but it did work quite well for True in that scenario. The Liberator count was pretty much always low enough where he could make it happen a lot of the times, and in those last few engagements, that sort of last prolonged push, he was able to take out the Liberators, but in the end, the Bioforce on the ground was too much.
Definitely the Bioforce on the ground was a little too much in the end. Game 2, or my bad, actually 3, is going to be on Orbital Shipyard. FanTaSy is currently up 2-0.
Yes, indeed. Like I said, greatest player of StarCraft of all time.
Whoa, you said he was going to let 2 wins go to True. So these next 2 wins have to be True, and then it'll be a best of 5 or a full 5.
Yep.
Game 3, Orbital Shipyard. Any thoughts?
Orbital Shipyard is kind of a great map for Reapers, so you might see a little bit of Reaper action coming out of FanTaSy. Nice little ledges there to mess around with, so that would be pretty cool. But overall, who knows? Maybe we'll see another Heart of the Swarm game.
Heart of the Swarm game is very viable and possible, but before we see if that happens, here in the top right-hand corner of Orbital Shipyard, from Dead Pixels, the best player in the universe of all time, it is the Blue Terran player FanTaSy, according to Jack Attack.
And in the bottom left, down 0-2, he's got to find some tenacious magical powers of Zerg to pull this one out. It is the red player, True.
Pretty random, but just looking in chat, someone's saying David, and of course that's for David Kim, of people blaming him on stuff, but I'm just thinking of someone not knowing anything about StarCraft coming in, be like, why is everyone saying David? Like, who's David? Like,
who is
you know what
David?
I mean? It's just, who is David? If someone came in and didn't know. One random thought for Orbital Shipyard while we're looking at it is I've played a whole bunch of games on this today in TvZ, and I've actually kind of enjoyed taking down the back rocks of the third and then going Ling Roach Ravager or Baneling Roach Ravager and just kind of sandwich the entire Terran army in that third base.
So, speaking of Reapers, we have a gas and 2 quick barracks to follow it up here. And the third barracks here.
He needs a third gas if he wants to make this work.
Nice. It's definitely possible. The cool thing about
he needs
Reapers,
the third gas to have constant.
Yeah, second gas, but yeah.
Yeah.
I knew
Cool
it.
thing about Reapers? Cool thing about Reapers you talking about?
Yeah. Fastest Reaper build is fastest 3 Reaper build is 2 minutes 18 seconds. This is a little bit later than that. It's a little bit more economical and
Not too far though. It's gonna hit about 220. I mean, it's gonna get out about 220.
yeah. Well, by the time he gets 3 Reapers, it's probably going to be more like 240, 245. And the advantage of 3 Reapers specifically is that 3 Reapers will kill larva in splash damage with the grenades. So cutting into the larva of your opponent. Very important. Larva does not jump, and as a result, it will get killed. The next critical number that you want to look for in Reapers is 6. Once you get to 6 Reapers, they can infinitely Reaper grenade a single spot. So with perfect micro, you can do something like hold a ramp infinitely with grenades. And different things like that. That was really interesting. We had a little bit of a glitch there. Those drones did not explode out. They just sort of stayed where they were, did a little dance, and then went back down. I wonder if that's going to keep happening. Good for True, bad for FanTaSy there. Oh, and there's that positioning with the grenade. One of the things you want to do in this kind of scenario, Mass Reaper scenario, if you can get that queen off creep by putting grenades behind the queen, you can usually take them down. Going to continue to try to get those placements happening, and it's all about this zoning potential. This is a knife's edge kind of situation. Losing just 1 Reaper is so awful. It's one of the most crappy, awful things you can do in this situation. You really have to keep those Reapers alive at all costs. And 1 Reaper down.
He loses 1.
Manages to get some queens dead though.
1 Reaper down, but all these queens are very low on health at the moment. If more KD8 charges go in, maybe he can do something, and it's 3 Reapers at a time coming out. Sadly, it's 1 at a time, but 3 in total are produced at a time, so they won't quite reinforce like that through the time. For now, though, I mean, it's just a dance back and forth, and I don't think FanTaSy can beat this, but he can delay True to the point of where FanTaSy's taken away, but he's got to get off. KD8 charges saves a couple of Reapers right there, but now there's so many links so low in health. Is the KD8 charges good enough? Are there's grenades to stop it? And I think they are just barely. Queens are still here, and now with these Reapers having regen, these queens have not been injecting. Oh, is there even larva? How much larva do we only have 1 larva, and we actually see a macro hatch coming down for True. FanTaSy has actually managed to do damage, but he's got to run back to be able to defend this.
Yeah, that engagement really put FanTaSy on the defensive here. He lost a lot of Reapers, but he's going to be careful, making sure that he stays up on the cliffs, doesn't get surrounded. That's really the main thing here. And continuing to pour into Reapers. The cool thing about Reapers is they are a very gas-heavy unit, despite the fact when a unit is equal in gas to the number of minerals it is, that's actually considered a gas-heavy unit because gas is about 2.5 times more scarce than minerals. So whenever you're considering that, keep that in mind. And as a result, all these extra minerals allows FanTaSy to take 2 command centers and continue building workers, while True has been a little bit stuck in the meantime. And now finally was able to drone.
He was actually going to DPS this 3rd hatch down.
Yep.
That I have not seen in a while. Ooh.
Of the Reaper, he's continuing to push them out. The problem with Reapers is once you get them into this critical mass, they're so hard to deal with. You can even see them go, blow for blow with roaches with properly timed grenades here. And we are reaching that critical mass area. He's built nothing but Reapers and SCVs this entire game. And as a result, his economy is going to be monstrous.
13 Reapers currently out, 33 SCVs to 36 drones. There's a nice drone count we have not seen True. Forget about that, but it's still every single time these Reapers go in, there's a possibility for more damage, and now there's almost enough they can just go into the middle line and kill everything. 13 Reapers doing whatever they wish with these Creep Tumors having their way, and the Lings are looking for a surround, but it's not going to happen. 1 Reaper goes up, they see there's nothing there, and this could be it. Jack attack. Reapers going in are almost going to one-shot a Queen, and can the Lings, can they get the surround? No, the KD8, the grenades are too good, but the grenades actually do friendly fire. Oh no!
Oh, nicely played. That is going to be it for the Reaper phase of the game. It was a nice opening. Now that the dust is settled, let's take a look at exactly what has happened. We are at 40 workers to 38, so mostly the same. The main contention, the main important thing that we need to pick up here is that the 3rd base has been very significantly delayed for our Zerg players. Zerg, generally speaking, the race that wants to be, in a little bit of an advantage, you want to be 1 base ahead. Being even on bases with the Terran is generally going to have the Terran at the advantage, and that's the situation we've had for a long time. And now we're just moving on into 3 base versus 3 base. Again, economically a good position for a Terran player.
It is a very good position for a Terran player, and we can see clearly that True knows he's kind of in an awkward position, trying to get down these rocks to be able to take another extra base, possibly even a fourth quick base. He knows he needs to compensate. I like these links, and he's getting +1/1 again, but FanTaSy has won twice in a row. I'm maybe wondering, yes, +1/1 links are good, but maybe he wants to switch it up. Maybe this is the point, awkwardly enough, where he wants to go for ultras, just because both economies, even though his is behind, FanTaSy's has kind of been weeded out a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're still pretty far away from being able to safely get to ultras. 1-1's gonna finish up. We're going for 2-2. I think he's the Roach Warren coming down, so it's all about.
Oh, a nice surround actually. He's gonna go down.
Wow, what a play!
The Marines actually were move commanding, so they will not have full attack in the beginning. Actually, this is a possibility for the Lings to get in, kill some meals, but it's not quite going to be enough. Thankfully, they do kill some stuff though. Lings get out of there, and FanTaSy is gonna go for a drop. Nothing's at home. I'd love to see these Lings turn around, just take a second look back. They glance back.
Wow, yeah, right.
Never
He's
look back.
totally open right now, but True has no idea. That's pretty wild. In any case, going for that big drop. That was a really nice round, but in the end, FanTaSy actually had the better position just because of the number of units that he had in comparison to the Zerglings. We do have that infestation pit coming down pretty quickly, so it looks like he's going to try to get out of roaches, as soon as possible. Move into that late game tech. 9 roaches on the way, and a Baneling nest.
Nice
wow,
drop.
the Baneling nest still hasn't been started here. 1 queen down, 2 queen down. The roaches are going to help a lot in this defense here, going to help push this back. Not too much economic damage done, but a lot of larva damage done. These injects are going to be behind, and with 20 lings on the way, it's really going to hurt the larva of our Zerg player.
Those injects have been behind since the beginning of the game. As you saw, there was a macro hatch, just an extra hatch put in the natural, so he would not need to have those queens there, but that could be taking a toll here. We'll see how much actually True is able to produce. Currently, he's got 11 larvae, and he's going to have to make a decision because his 4th base and 3rd base, or at least 4th base and creep, are going to both be starting to clean up. His 4th base position actually could potentially go down here desperately. True is unsure of what to do, goes to clean up his creep, but now that means his 4th base, it's going to be targeted down.
Nicely canceled at the absolute last second, but great positional play from FanTaSy there, pulling the army of True to the left side so he could come sweeping on the right and prevent an expansion. Again, in Legacy of the Void, preventing expansions is a much more powerful play than it used to be. Going to come and make a drop here. That queen is in a bit of trouble, and he's right on top of the upgrades. Wonderful, go for it, but he should get a pretty good position. That Widow Mine making a nice shot there, and the second Widow Mine shot going to go off only on larvae. He's going to have to get out of there pretty quickly.
Gets on out of there because of the corrosive biles and might hit this natural base. There is 4 medevacs over on this left-hand side. He could definitely go for another drop, but now continuously on the right-hand side, 4 more medevacs full of Marines, and it's a split-second decision True has got to make to actually go aggressive with some of these lings, to send them across the map, or you're going to get to that point where you just pull back and forth, where your opponent, which would be FanTaSy, just kind of takes map control and does whatever he wants with you. He has his way.
Ooh, almost missing those corrosive biles there. Shows the units on the right side first. The left side is available for clearing up some creep. Not going to get too greedy with that. Just going to clear up a little bit. Maybe pick up and get out, but he's just holding position there. Most of the forges. Oh, actually, he can drop behind here, but there are Banelings.
Oh, the Banelings could be huge. Only a couple Marines go down.
Oh man, 4 Banelings not enough. The Marauders soaked that up so well. Looks like he's going to clear up a lot of this, but in the meantime, we have forces attacking. FanTaSy is insane, going for the 4th base.
4th base is going to be at jeopardy again. There is nothing there to defend, and I think FanTaSy's going to be able to kill that while all of his forces are kind of just all their attention to the main of the natural base, but there's more drops. There are drops everywhere, and the best part is some of these medevacs don't even have things in them. By the way, True is trying to get to Ultralisks. He's got a adrenal glands on the way, but he doesn't have any gas. He's got nothing. I think FanTaSy takes this 3-0, both preliminary matches going 3-0.
There's a reason why FanTaSy's nickname in Brood War was the Terrorist Terran. His multitasking, his drops, absolutely insane, always been the case, and now giving the tool of the medevac, the boosted medevac, just makes him such a more fearsome opponent even than before. Getting into a nice position here, the Ultralisk Cavern of
beautiful corrosive biles on those Widow Mines. Takes 2 out.
And it looks like we've got a decent-sized army here for True, trying to hold on to the best of his ability. Corrosive biles making connections with a lot of their targets, but it looks like the multitasking of FanTaSy is a bit much, making a move over to the left side, killing a bunch
Oh, lots of
dodging-
medevacs going down. 4 medevacs go down to those corrosive piles. Still doing pretty darn good. More medevacs come in. There's not much here, but all in all, Jack Attack, how much damage has actually been done? 40 workers, and base-wise, time will only tell.
Yeah, the big deal here is there's no fourth base for True, excuse me, and he just is not going to be able to keep up this 3-base versus 3-base for very much longer. You can see already in the supplies, large advantage going over to FanTaSy. Interestingly enough, sieging up over here, taking some hits from the corrosive bile. Actually, True not aiming those corrosive biles properly, clicking on the Liberator and
GG!
Gee, FanTaSy 3-0. Looks like he didn't want to make a show of it. He had a hot date. He had somewhere to be, so he's like, one sec, let me 3-0 this nerd, and I'm going to go do my thing. FanTaSy, all kidding aside, fantastic player. You know, props up to True, of course.
A fantastical play.
Yeah. He's a fantastic player. As we all know, True, of course, very an honest player. Also, we know this. Yes.
Are you actually drinking vodka? No. That was something in chat. Someone asked that, and I said he actually did. The exact words he used is, "I'm going to go get a drink," is what he said earlier on, and that was a long time ago.
Yes.
That was in the Skype chat, but
I did say I was going to get a drink, and I have returned with my drink, and I'm casting while drinking. It's safe. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
drinking and casting, everyone should do it, but guys, both preliminary, which is a word I always struggle to say, went 3-0. Knee beating Igaz and FanTaSy beating True, both getting $25. And as I said, there's only the preliminary. Jack Attack, who do we have for the big, mega, the match, the best of 7?
We've got Scarlet! Scarlet, one of my favorite Zerg players of all time, pioneer of the creep, one of the first players in StarCraft to really go ahead and say, hey, guess what? Creep is awesome, and I'm going to show you why. Her and Damag are really at the forefront of that movement in Wings of Liberty, making it happen. Funny enough, Nesty, the greatest Zerg player in the world in the very beginning, refused to spread creep for a very long time in those early GSL days. Creep were like, oh, it isn't much of an advantage. Scarlet's like, no, creep's awesome, and making it happen. Of course, lots of cool accolades for her. We could talk about her forever. We could also talk about this guy, Protoss player, Hero, Liquid Hero. There are 2 heroes. This is the hero we deserve. And you know, the one
not the one we get.
Not the one that we you know, need right now. And you know, with great power comes great responsibility and other such silly things. Drenok, what do you have to say about Hero?
Hero is a great fella. I've casted him multiple times versus Tasia, actually on this channel that is Team Gravity. By the way, guys, please follow if you can, or subscribe just below us or on my nose if you're on Liquipedia or if you're on Team Liquid right now. But Hero, man, I've seen a lot of really cool things out of him lately. Haven't seen too much Legacy of the Void now, but I did see him a couple games in beta. We'll see actually what he does versus Scarlet. And Scarlet, I was actually watching versus No Regret last night, and it was a pretty funny game. There's been a lot of funny Scarlet games I've seen.
Absolutely, but Scarlet's been crazy, Hero's crazy. Well, a lot of things to say about these players, but we're going to go ahead and throw it to a short break to build up the hype, the excitement for our best of 7. That means we see all the maps as long as no one 4-0s, but there's no vetoing involved. None of the players can say, I don't like that map, and I'm not playing it. No! You cannot do that because this is a best of 7. So, you know, get excited. Go get some popcorn. Go get some, you know, granola bars if that's your thing. You know, go ahead and get cheese, but not too much cheese if you're Drenok. Whatever it might be. And we'll see you guys very, very shortly.